Shout out to Stephanie White. The Fever coach stood up for her team. She demanded respect and she blasted the refs. Look, it was a great game between the Fever and the Liberty. High level hoops. Obviously, the Liberty are defending champs for a reason, and they got better with Natasha Cloud in tow. But at the same time, the Fever were on the wrong end of some whistles, it seemed, in this game. And it's seemingly been that way for much of the season. And it's been a recurring theme where there's a level of physicality allowed against them, and they're not allowed to reciprocate on the other end. That particularly, of course, goes for Caitlin Clark. So by White speaking up, not only is it a tactic to get a better whistle from the refs, but it's also a statement to say, I've got your backs to the team. And I think it needed to be said, particularly when applying it to the Indiana Fever. Here's what the head coach had to say after the game. I mean, this is the initial clip that is going to, go everywhere and blow up everywhere. It was how she started the post-game press conference, and there was a little bit more added, courtesy of Scott Agnes here.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control. I felt like at times our late game execution was good, and I consider most of the latter half of the fourth quarter, because it was a tight ball game. We're still not recognizing our mismatches. I felt like AB had plenty of opportunities. We could have gotten her touches down low, and we had some turnovers, key turnovers. We settled at times. We fought, but we can't dig ourselves a hole from the beginning. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a system to making sure that we can send stuff in and communicate, our grievances, so to speak. I don't know that I ever feel like the system works. We're not looking for a change. We're just looking for consistency. I felt like the second half of Atlanta, at least at our place, was at least consistent. Right. And that's the thing that we're looking for.
The first thing she talked about was the final play of the game where Cloud was up on Clark, maybe got a piece of her arm or up inside her arm a little bit there. But there, were other plays throughout the game. At the end, she's talking about how you can, file an official complaint to the league. But to me, what stood out the most was there was a back-to-back sequence where Duana Bonner doesn't get a whistle here. This is on one end. Duana Bonner does not get a whistle. You can see Clark finds her. This is down the stretch. And Cloud comes over. By the way, good defense by Cloud. She's playing hard, but looks like she bumped her to me. And I was in the stands watching that transpire. Seconds later, right after that, you get Sabrina Ionescu driving into Lexi Hull for what turns out to be the winning free throws. And in this instance, it's not Hull coming over. It's Sabrina, in a way, going in to Hull. Right there. As you can see. So that, I think, is the issue that one would have, which is on one end, it's not a whistle, and on the other end, it is. And that's exactly what I asked myself, Stephanie White, about the that sequence there after the game, where she sort of reiterated some of her other points.
Coach, you talked about the way that the game's been officiated for you guys. How did you see the foul that was not called, or a lack of foul, on the Bonner play, and then follow it up by Lexi Hull getting called for the foul?
I thought it was egregious, honestly. I mean, I thought it was obvious. I felt like AB got one, had one going to the rim. They're in rotation. DB's was crazy. And then Lexi's, I felt like equally, we talk about, coming into the path, and it was an offensive player veering into the defensive player's path. So, I mean, it is what it is. We have to be able to play through it. But at the same time, I feel like it's really disrespectful.
It's really disrespectful, which is about as strong as you're going to get, especially when you're talking about a team with the profile that the Indiana Fever have. And, Caitlin Clark seemed a little resigned to the fate after the game when she was talking about her own shooting slump, because she had gone, I think, 12 straight threes without making one.
A lot of ways to continue to get better, but yeah, I did not my best shooting night. I thought I could take care of the ball a little bit better. Had some tough ones, ones where my arm was getting grabbed, but whatever.
But if Clark does it, it comes off more as complaining. When the coach does it, it's more making a statement. Now, with that said, a statement win for the Liberty, who continue to look like the title favorites off of their last title. But at the same time, with the Liberty and the Fever being so close, it does go back to a theme I've had, which is that, despite the record being 2-2, the Fever are actually working out a bunch of new players, working through the new system, not playing their best. Caitlin Clark going through a shooting slump. All those things considered, it's still a pretty good loss in a way, because they're only a couple possessions away from being undefeated. And Clark echoed that sentiment after the game when she was asked about that.
You say you're 2 possessions away from being 4-0 in these games. Do you look at it from both sides? Like, here are the positives of this, and then here are the things we really want to work on?
Yeah, and that's probably what's frustrating about it too. It's like we are 2 possessions or, from being 4-0, but there was so many little areas in this game that we could have improved. Like our defense, again, to start the game was poor. And we got to find a way to come out with more energy, be able to guard. And yes, they present a very tough challenge when all 5 of them can make threes and, they're setting inverted ball screens, things like that. It's a challenge, but you got to find a way to do it. If you want to win, in this league, you got to find a way to guard, you got to find a way to get stops. But I think you take that as a positive, you go back, you learn, but also we are 2 possessions away from being 4-0 and, a possession away from beating the Liberty here. So, it definitely stings, but, this is what's going to make us better.
And the Fever are right there, right? They are right there. They were down 15, then they were up 12. Kelsey Mitchell made some nice reads in this game, some nice passes. Aaliyah Boston continues her spectacular start to the season. Duana Bonner made some tough rebounds, even though she struggled with her shot. Lexi Hull gets in the starting lineup, which was an interesting change from Stephanie White. Clark had some ill-advised turnovers. I thought she made some great passes too, struggling with the shot as of late. She looked like to be honest, she looked like she's dealing with a cold or something in both the pre and the post-game press conference, but you got to figure her shot will round into form, and that's a hell of an opponent they were facing. But when you're facing an opponent that good, you also can't be facing the officials. And I think that's the message that Stephanie White wants to get across, and dead now, and she started early, right? So I believe she's speaking for Clark. I believe she's speaking for the rest of her Fever team, and I believe she's also speaking for the fan base.